My parents lived in Valencia cultivating rice, but they didn't own lands. So in the 60s, they were attracted by the offer of cheap lands in the Guadalquivir Marshes. And consequently, they moved to Villafranca del Guadalquivir when I was 4 years old. With some savings and loans from the bank, they bought a small farm, 10 hectares. But some years later, they left the property. I had a nice childhood, living a simple life, in contact with nature, and then many of my friends also came from Valencia. I was a good student, and my parents always dreamed of their child to go to university. And today I'm a doctor at Seville's hospital.
I'm 24 years old. My dream is to become a pilot with Iberia or one of the other important airlines companies. I'm trying to do this, but in the meantime, I work in the rice field. It's a seasonal job, but well paid. Sometimes when I'm working, I think of how many people were needed in the fields years ago and how hard the job was.
I'm manager of an important tour operator in Seville. My company is very interested in having cruises coming from Sanlúcar de Barrameda to Seville. This will improve the tourism a lot, but the problem is that the Guadalquivir has to be dredged to permit the entrance of big ships. There is a project, but it is temporarily stopped because of the position of the rice farmers. They say that the dredging will change the functioning of the river and it will be harmful for their business. I don't know much about the technical details, but I know for sure that tourism is much more important for our economy than rice.
Today it is not possible to work in agriculture without a solid formation. A young farmer needs degrees in different fields such as agronomy, biology, economics, international trade or even law to meet challenges of our profession. I encourage young people to make a career in agriculture. We need them.
The transformation of the marshes have been surprising. Development and prosperity have come to this area. There is no unemployment, salaries are good, and many peasants will be able in the future to buy some lands with their savings. We have made an authentic social revolution, and we don't need communists for this.
I was born near the marshes, in a very small village called Colina. My parents' house was a hut with a straw roof. There were 7 of us in the family. Like other men in the village, my father had several activities. He hunted turkeys in the marshes, picked up snakes, and made brooms out of straw. He sold all these things in the big village like Puebla del Rio or Coli. In 1940, there were jobs offered in the new rice plantations, and my father took the opportunity. Unfortunately, the work was unhealthy, exhausting, and bad paid, and my father got malaria. He died in 1950 at 40 years of age. I also worked in the rice fields, but in 1960 I decided to move to Barcelona and work in a factory.
I am 23 years old. I live in Colla del Rio, where my parents have a photo show. Since I was a child, I have loved nature and animals. I ride horses, and every year I go to the pilgrimage of Rio. I have just finished my study at the university specializing in botany. Now I would like to get a job related to farming, rather than a work in a school or in a public administration. I have decided to follow a master in international trade. Sadly, I will not inherit a rice farm as my cousin, but we will see.
I have 55 hectares on the marshes. I'm now 62 and I always cultivate rice. I make a good living out of my property, but I don't see continuity for my farm. My 3 children study at the university, but they don't want to become farmers. The only person in my family who shares my passion for the marshes is my niece.
For me it was very hard to adapt to my new life. I miss my family and my village near Valencia. Villafranca was quite far away from everything and I had to work very hard. But my husband and I knew that we were looking for a better life for our children.
Time has shown that we were right. Today, I still have a nice house in the marshes when I spend the summers with my family.
It was 1937. The Civil War was still taking place when I was called by the mayor of Seville to undertake the colonization of the Guadalquivir Marshes. Food as needed for the army and for the population, and price was seen as a good solution.
In 1921, the English company of the Guadalquivir River appointed me as its manager in the south of Spain. For almost 10 years, I did huge but successful work. We built entire infrastructures to cultivate the marshes and got excellent harvest. Unfortunately, the company had financial problems and went bankrupt. I was dismissed in 1929 and I committed suicide 1 year later.
I live in Puebla del Rio and I am 65 years old. I am now retired, but I have always worked in the rice fields. When I was 16 years, in 1964, I got my driver's license and this permitted me to become tractor and machine driver. I was lucky because I found a quality job in marshes. I can say that the rest of jobs were rubbish because as a simple peasant, you damage your head and leg in the marshes. In the 70s, jobs diminished and most of the work was done with machines. I get my job. I have a house and a lab to live on. My 2 children are grown up and have nothing to do with the marshes.